Right. So what I do here is I set up, what you're seeing here is the code to set up the individual walking animations, disintegrate, etc. So for example, the green zombie has 8 frames in the walking animation. And I tell it that it must play all 8 frames within 800 milliseconds. So it gets 100 milliseconds to play each frame. But that's great if the zombie is walking at a speed that makes this animation time look good.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's not, I don't adjust it here. I don't create like walking and then walking fast and walking super fast. I don't create a whole bunch of these. Instead, what I would do is in here, I would realize that this one's going to be moving faster. And let me see if I can find. I'm looking for the exact value in the.
So you just adjust it on the fly, then based on.
Yeah, let me. I'm sorry. I wanted to show people the exact reference, so this would make more sense.
So what I'm picturing is you can when you're talking about the 800 milliseconds there, you can make a zombie walk slow, like maybe after it's had a healthy brains meal, right? It's feeling a little heavy, you might want to walk a little slower, and then you get your fast walking mall zombie who's really motivated and trying to catch you. They might their little legs might be like
a mall zombie.
A mall zombie. Well, I don't. Sorry to anybody who walks to malls, but I'm not calling you a zombie.
Y'all, she's walking into malls.
Yeah.
I'm going to show you the opposite now. So we keep talking, Charles, but I'm going to change this while we're doing this.
We're going to get hate mail from the mall walkers of America. You called us mall zombies. No, I wasn't calling you a mall zombie.
Here. I've got an example of this already. I'm so dumb sometimes, I swear. If you guys
I hate that. I hate when I do things in advance and then I forget that I do them, and then I do them, and then I remember that I did them, and then I'm like, oh, it's just a waste of time.
I especially hate it when somebody says it like that. Totally lost me. If you go into the top-down shooter app folder, we've been looking at the game, but there is a folder here called Sprites. Open that up and look at the simple one. And this demonstrates exactly what I was talking about, which is the timescale. All 4 of these guys are the same animation, but each instance I've changed the timescale. So this one's running at half rate. This one's running at the regular full rate. This one's 2 times. And this one's running at 10 times. So he's Mr. Hyper.
Yeah, and good, and the reason I really wanted to bring that up was you're talking about working with pre-existing animation packs. I'm like, well, you're obviously not going to have the assets to go back and change that. You have to kind of continue to work with it as is, and so how do you make those adjustments? And so there you go.
Exactly, and the beauty of this this parameter is you can change it at any time. If the guy slows down or speeds up, and you need that animation to synchronize basically with your new rate, change the timescale.
So you could have you could drop like a spell, right? And then everybody, all the zombies, as soon as they enter the cloud, they slow down.
And then I just change the timescale to half, and everything looks good.
Steven, did you just make a "mwah" face? Mwah.
No, I know what you did over there. He said, "Raw, Zibalba." Gotta do it, man. Product placement. They're like, that's not our game. Why are you saying Zibalba? Stop it. We make much more beautiful games than that, man.
Yeah.
So object timescale, which is a property of the sprite object. So really big there in the documentation. But let me go undo my changes here so we don't have anything all goofed up. Okay. So we're past time. So the question exists now. I said to you last week after hours that I would not take us past time for no reason.
Yeah.
I think we're actually at a good stopping point. We got to talk about that kind of interesting topic there.
Yeah, we kind of went out to the end, right? We were going to do.
We went way out to the end. We just went right out to navigation.
Yeah, we were going to limit the character to a square. So that they didn't. Yep.
Here we go. Oh, here they are. They're running it. Oh yeah! Come on, boys, you can get me.
Zombie mud. And then we were going to do the spawning of the enemies and stuff like that, and then we were going to do the nickel version of Pathfinding, which we did. So yeah, let's stop there. We'll pick up next week. We'll go either more in depth in the code on the first 2 topics, or we'll explore something else. I'm not sure exactly which.
We might do something because I kind of like this. So I know I'm talking now past the end, but One thing I do is I set up sort of like the example,
Yeah.
and then we get there, and it's like this long, drawn-out, painful experience. Sometimes, in my opinion, afterwards I go, oh man, I hope I didn't lose people in that discussion. But today what happened is I'm just sort of talking, and then it struck me that this whole, when I made the joke about the nickel version of AI, that it was actually quite interesting. And so I will continue to make this, but we may simply not wing it, but pick out the juicy bits next week.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, you've again, we've talked about this before. You have provided all the code, and we've talked about these things in other videos and stuff like that. So I think at this point, someone should be able to pick the code apart. And if they have questions, and I'm talking to you, the listener now, you, the viewer, if you have questions, that would be a great time to put those in the comments and let us know so that we can answer those questions on the next show. And that might get us into a spiral where we're pushing time more and more, but it would at least be beneficial directly to you as you look through the code, have questions about how something works, and then we can talk about it, right? So one way would be sort of a linear push, and the other way would be more focused on specific aspects of the code. So so go download it. The links are in the show notes. Like we said at the top of the show, there are 5 different sessions that you can go and explore. And I would say that even if you're doing a mobile game, you can still take a lot of these concepts that are in this code and repurpose them for the mobile game. I'm sure the reticle and things like that probably are different on mobile, but Ed, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like there's a lot of things here that I see that could certainly be applied to mobile.
Even the reticle. Actually, you know what? If you had a virtual joystick in your game, you could use the virtual joystick to control the reticle.
That's cool. That's true.
There's a number of things here. But I just wanted to point out that you said that people should go ahead and traipse through this code, and they should. There's a lot of code, but realize that this time I've been making a lot of effort to really keep the code small. So even the most complicated piece of code that we've got, which is the player, is still less than 300 lines of code. It's got lots of comments in it, pretty much tell you everything that I'm doing. And if I don't have good comments, which I pretty much do, the names convey what the code is supposed to be doing. So
yeah,
it should be more like reading than coding.
And you've got each one is broken up into a logical order. So I think this is again another good example of how to think about structuring your application, how to break things up into modules, how to repurpose, create pieces of code that you can repurpose, which is the elusive, unicorn in software. So anyway, unicorns. Yeah, unicorns, tasty.
And this is all pure Lua, pure Corona.
Yeah, which is
so
fantastic.
You pretty much not see anything in here that says SSK. If it's in here, it'll go away. So the more you look at it, the more I work on it, the more pure it will become.
Nice. All right, guys. Well, there you go. We're going to put links in the show notes. Go check them out. Until then, next week, until next Monday at 12 p.m. Pacific, have a great week and happy coding.